All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Our unplanned week's vacation is over, and we can get back into talking about some Avalanche stuff, including Cale Makar possibly on the cover of EA NHL 24, and a fantastic athletic article about 5 things all fan bases need to hear. I absolutely love this. You're going to like it too. Here we go. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_ on Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us over on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live, and make sure to subscribe to our subtext as well. Link to that is in the show notes below. And when you do, you can chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. All right, so you can see our rundown. Those last 2 ones there that say your prospects stink and so does your fan base. If you're from another team and you're just here because you have nothing else to do and it's slow off season for your team and our team, don't get so mad at that just yet. Just wait. There's a method to that madness. But yeah, for the people who were wondering where we've been for the past week, it was just, like I said in the beginning, it was not planned to have we're down to 3 shows a week during the off season. And then we do our crossover Friday. And that turned into kind of like a debacle because we were going to do the crossover with Jason. He got sick. Internet issues up and down. So it was just, we just canned the whole week and we took our vacation week and it was good. And we're rested and we're relaxed and we have a pretty fun show for you guys today.
I sleep standing up in this chair for everybody.
He does not.
For all the everydayers, I live right here.
Yeah, he is a Bernie. He is a weekend at Bernie's. So we'll start quickly with something that, you know what, man? I'm being totally honest here. I was not even going to talk about this year because I feel like we've been talking about this year in and year out and how we always say, like, this is a year that someone on the Avalanche deserves to be on the cover of EA NHL. And they obviously always give it to somebody else. And I was kind of over that hump of really not even wanting to bother talking about it until it happened. I talk about it after the fact. But then social media does its social media thing, and there's rumors swirling around that Cale Makar is going to be the cover boy for this year's game, which is going to be announced on Wednesday. Or actually, I think they're announcing it on Monday, and then they're showing what the cover is on Wednesday. I think that's how it's going. So you might find out on Monday, maybe right after you listen to this episode, if it is him or not, and then you see what the actual image is on Wednesday. But Adrian Dater's throwing it out there. Evan Rawls throwing it out there. There's a lot of people feeling like this is going to be it. I don't know how they know that. There's no images floating about, but it's kind of a big deal. It is kind of a big deal. So what do you think?
Oh, it's a very big deal for me and the Von Doom household. This is our one purchase we mark on the calendar every year. I have bought every NHL game since 2002, every year. And I, much like you, I was like, I get myself hyped up for, this is Nathan MacKinnon's year. And here comes PK Subban. And here comes Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid for the 19th time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, nope, not this year. I follow all the socials for the EA games, and I'm in the communities when it comes to like the online aspect because I'm an avid player. And I was like, no, not this year. Rasmus Dahlin, he's doing a lot of stuff in mocap. I was like, no, it's not happening. And then, as you mentioned, the social medias start flurrying with Cale Makar, and I had half of a bite of mac and cheese for brunch today in my mouth, and I say, excuse me, sir, is this finally the year? And then when you think about it, it makes the most sense. But we say that every year. If this is the year, and for Cale Makar to grace the cover when they're promising so many tweaks in the game. I think if they're going to change the game's DNA as much as they are, what better cover athlete than somebody who's changing the game's DNA with how he plays defense?
Well, you had the Athletic fan poll, which we will finish covering on Wednesday's episode, by the way. We got to a bunch of it. We didn't get to the playoff stuff. The very first question they ask is, outside of Connor McDavid, who's the best player in the league? Nathan McKinnon was number 1. Cale Makar was number 2. So, and that's a fan vote, right? Mm-hmm. So he's popular amongst the fans. So right there is a good reason to have him on there, because that'll sell copies clearly. But we bring this up because there hasn't been we sit here and be like, oh, this is the reason why Nathan McKinnon should be on it, or who, you know what I mean? Someone on the Avalanche. And those still hold true for someone like Cale Makar. But I don't remember in years past anybody really saying the leak is this guy's going to be on it. Do you? I don't know how anybody knows this right now. I mean, sure, stuff can get out.
Unless things are being leaked promo-wise when it comes to shoots, and like Cale Makar's not available because he's doing something, and you kind of track the location, and you're like, oh, this kind of makes sense.
That's some sleuth stuff right there.
Yeah, that's sleuth, but that's also the sleuthing that you get in the gaming communities, and they kind of relay that to the hockey writing communities, because this is kind of the off season. You're looking for something, you work hand in hand, and you kind of figure these things out. And granted, it's been since I think 2001 since the Avalanche have graced the cover, and that was Joe Sakic in a last-minute change because of the Danny Heatley situation.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Well, that was Forsberg, I believe it was. It was one of the two.
No, I think it was Sakic. Pretty sure it was Sakic. If it doesn't happen this time, even the next time that this comes around and they say oh, the rumor is an Avalanche player, I'm not going to talk about it. Yep. I promise you. If it doesn't happen this year, because this is the only reason I'm saying is because the rumors are out there. And like I said, I don't remember there being a time when they were saying, oh, rumors are it's going to be Trevor Zegras. I don't remember last year.
Yeah, I don't remember that hype ever.
So it's not something that typically leaks, but hey, if it is, and I'll say this, if it's leaking and that is the rumors and it's not him, I'm done talking about this until an Avalanche player comes on that cover, and then I will talk about it after the fact.
They will
done talking about it, doesn't it? Yeah, every year. And the thing is, I don't even really play the game all that much anymore. But am I going to be that guy who buys this one because an Avalanche player is on the cover?
Yes, you will.
I think I might. So, all right, we're going to get into this article on The Athletic that I absolutely love. I put it up on Twitter and I said, I know that this is behind a paywall, but this could be one of my favorite articles that I have seen in a very, very, very long time. And the title of it is the 5 truths all NHL fan bases need to hear this offseason. And it's written by Sean McIndoe, who does the Down Goes Brown articles. So we're going to talk about those. There's 5 of them, and they are brilliant. And it's true. You do need to hear all of those. But first, we are going to hear from FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook. And football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long. This is pretty cool what FanDuel is doing. We always talk about those bonus bets that you get. Right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, pick your team. You can bet on them right now to win the Super Bowl. You can get bonus bets every time they win during the regular season. So pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. And then you can use those bonus bets on the spread, player props, over-unders, anything that FanDuel offers. You can use those bonus bets every time the team wins. Pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if people are going to be picking like Arizona or anything like that, but no, I like it.
Yeah, if you're getting football advice from a hockey show, it would be not the Arizona Cardinals.
That's what we're going with. if you listen to nothing else from the show, listen to the ad read where we say don't pick Arizona. So visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. All right. We mentioned that this article over on The Athletic, and like I said, it's titled 5 Truths All NHL Fan Bases Need to Hear This Offseason. And I know a lot of these, I'm looking forward to what the comment section is on most of these.
Yeah.
Because it's true. A lot of these are true, and a lot of these are kind of like fan service, and a lot of it is because social media is what it is. But just listen, just hear us out, and then we can have a conversation in the comments section. We're going to start with number 1. And the headline for this one is, you are overrating your prospects and young players. And I love the first line he puts in this. Right after that, he just writes, they're not that good. He goes, okay, yeah, some of them are, depending on where your team has spent the last few years on the whole contending to tanking continuum. They may even be very good. They're just not as good as you think they are. And this is true, Kyle. You love the draft picks. Every draft pick that they get, you try to kind of like read articles on them or look at grades for them or the experts and stuff like that, and try to find those like little things to pull out. Like, oh, this is why our franchise can make this guy a potential star. And the reality of the situation is, anybody that's really outside of like the top 15 draft picks is a crapshoot. And Colorado Avalanche fans can vouch for that recently with the slew of draft picks that they've had late in the first round that haven't really panned out or you haven't seen yet, but you love just looking at the possibility because they haven't played yet. It's all just, they could do this, they could do that. And you just love what the potential is. And the potential for your guys is the moon. The ceiling is so high. And you see other teams that those guys for other teams aren't panning out, but it's not going to be true for your team. It's so true. And it's just, the reality is most of these guys don't make it to the professional level and become all-stars.
This one stings, especially for the everydayers that wear burgundy and blue, call ourselves Avalanche fans. As you can see, well, behind me, I have a Colorado Eagles jersey for Sampo Ranta.
There you go.
Where is he?
Gonna bring him up. Yeah.
Where's Alex Newhook?
Well, and Newhook is one, definitely, but
it's one of those that, and I mean, we do it on occasion. You fall in love with the potential, but the on ice quality of play is just not there. And the Avalanche used to tout, like, we have this great young prospect pool. How many of them are still here?
Right.
Like, you have to understand, prospects nowadays, it is more of like 10 to 20% actual roster players, and the rest of it is trade packages. It's you're banking on dealing out this potential. Yeah, that's what we're just talking about with Seth when we crossed over with the Minnesota Wild. Was you're drafting these players because you're so tight against the cap because of buyouts. Everybody you're basically drafting is going to be a future package just to keep this thing afloat. And that's how a lot of these prospects are billed these days.
Yeah, I think for a team like the Avalanche, when you're contending for a championship, a lot of these guys are going to be traded, and they have been. You saw it a couple of years ago when they went for the cup. You got to get rid of some of these guys to make that push for a championship. But the guys that are hanging around, you want them to be like, especially like someone like who I love, like Jean-Luc Foudy, because I like his game and I like the speed he has, like the offensive ability that he has. But I also want it to be, he was drafted in the 3rd round and all you teams passed on him multiple times. Yep. I wanted to be like that twist the knife, like you could have had him and you didn't, and he landed to the Colorado Avalanche, and that's why you hate the Avalanche even more, because they find these guys. Yep. And the jury's still out on him, and the jury's still out on a lot of guys. You mentioned Sampo Ranta. When you got him, you were like, hey, he's pretty good in college. Let's see what he can do. Jury's still out on Ben Myers. You want guys like that. Like, He chose us. He wasn't drafted. And of all the teams that he could have went to, because he had his pick, he chose us. And now we want you right over there.
A fly. There's a fly in
Nat,
here.
is Nat, yeah. So you want guys like that. It's half you want them to do well because they're playing for your team, and half like, we got him and you don't, and you could have had him. You look at Kovalenko right now. He's the big name, and you don't know, but you just want them to succeed. And the reality of the situation is, doesn't happen a lot.
No,
it doesn't happen. And like I said in the article, he says it. You see it in all the other fan bases, and you acknowledge it for the other fan bases that they're not succeeding, but you just don't feel like it's going to be true for you because your team knows how to draft and sign prospects, and most everybody's in the same boat when it comes to this.
So, not everybody's Cale Makar.
No. So I like that one. The second one here is the refs aren't out to get you. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people be like, yes, they are. Stop right there. He says neither is the league, neither is Department of Player Safety, or the replay war room, or the series supervisor, or Gary Bettman himself. And he says, deep down, we know all this, but we just love sports conspiracy theories, and we'll run with this. And it's true that, sports conspiracy theories are fun, and saying like, Bettman hates us and the refs hate us, Department of Player Safety hate, like those are fun to say every once in a while. And yes, like bad calls are made against your team. That doesn't mean like every single call is against your team. And he says something in the article, which you say a lot about, if this team can't, or if this league can't understand that maybe you shouldn't put, an outdoor game in 80-degree heat, how are they really conspiring against your team? Kind of true.
And this is a whole philosophy that I have subscribed to for years and years and years and years and years. Anytime that the conversation is the refs robbed us of this game, I can't believe they have this against us. I can't. The refs. I will never. You can go back. Everydayers, go back. Listen, I will never jump on the refs anything bandwagon. It's two teams playing against each other. If you're going to let one call ruin your game, you did everything else wrong in the game. Like, you can't let it come down to a ref whistle. You work around it. It's part of the game. Just like a puck turning on its side and going on a perfect pass, it hits a little chip of ice. You can't complain about the ice the whole game. The refs are not out to get you. Granted, you might just have bad luck in the calls, but they're not out to get you, and they didn't ruin your game. You were just in a bad position at that moment, and you probably shouldn't have been doing what you were doing, and you got caught, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, refs are going to make bad calls. In every single sport, they're going to make bad calls. And when a fan base takes that and just extrapolates it to, they're always out against us. Like, I never have ever gone that far, ever. And with Department of Player Safety, I think Department of Player Safety makes some terrible decisions. That is league wide. Yeah. I pay attention to
they're
all
universally bad.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. It's not just the Avalanche where they're making bad decisions. I think the Department of Player Safety does a terrible job, not just against how they rule against Avalanche players, how they rule against everybody.
Yep.
So it's just like I said, it's a fun thing to kind of throw out there, and it's an easy talking point, and it's an easy target to explain it away. You can blame it on somebody else. You don't blame it on your team for playing bad, or you know what I mean? For the Avalanche in the postseason against Seattle, they didn't play well. And if there's a part of the fan base that's out there that wants to blame it on all this other stuff and the whole Cale Makar suspension, like I don't really go there that much, but it's just not how I've ever really watched sports. I kind of put it on the team before anybody else. Yeah, there's bad calls, and there will always be bad calls. It doesn't mean anything more than that.
It falls in the same camp of the Avalanche don't win home games if they're wearing their alternate jersey.
Yeah,
I just like that has no bearing on the game at all. Let's get over that.
And that kind of bleeds into the third one, which is the media doesn't hate your team either. And then he says in parentheses, probably. So says, okay, so the hockey world doesn't really secretly hate your team, But what about the media, especially that one idiot, the one that never seems to have anything good to say about your team? That one's obviously personal, right? No, almost certainly not. Probably. And I've never bought into this either. I don't. I know there's a lot of people, especially Avalanche fans and the West Coast, who feel like there is a East Coast media bias. I don't fall into that because look at. I keep going back to like Golden State Warriors. I don't know why I bring them up many times on this podcast. Just like look how they're the darlings still of places like ESPN and Fox Sports, because they're winning. I don't think sports media will just go to East Coast, and especially with ESPN being on the East Coast. I think that's why a lot of people feel that way. No, sports media follows the victors. They follow the champions usually. This one I've never really kind of gotten behind either.
I could tell you, I go to school. I'm in college for sportscasting and broadcasting, and I could tell you that the media does not have a bias towards teams. It's story. And I hear everybody clacking away, but the Avalanche weren't covered on their cup-winning season. Correct. Because how interesting can you make it? The Avalanche win again. The Avalanche win again. Night in, night out. You have a 30-minute block. You have to cover everything. The Avalanche win again. They win again. They win again. If somebody had a hat trick, an unbelievable game, incredible moment, those moments slide up. It's kind of the understood. If the Avalanche are always winning, we're not going to talk about that tonight. There's other things going on. You don't feel like your team's being covered enough. There's probably other stuff going on in the world of sports. They don't have a bias against you. And now you get 30-second clips on every bit of your social media pertaining to your team. Yeah. So that mindset is going away, and now you can't turn around without having your team covered.
Well, and I think for the Stanley Cup final, a lot of people were kind of annoyed because Tampa Bay was getting all of the love, and they should have. They were going for 3 in a row. The Avalanche hadn't won any in 20 plus years. So even though they were a very good team, and the Avalanche need to take that away from Tampa Bay and the rest of the league, and they won one. So, but that doesn't mean now all of a sudden you're just going to get like showered with love. It's just you're for that offseason, you are the champion. You're not anymore. Now you have to get it back. Now, if you want to be the darlings of sports media, you have to win more than one. I'm sorry, winning one is difficult enough as it is. But unless you have, like superstar players, which the Avalanche have, and Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, we can go on and on about them. But the Steph Currys just get covered because of his name. LeBron James is always going to get covered because of his name, and he's playing in LA right now. That's a big market, obviously, but that's how you get covered. Winning one championship, while for the moment, will be great, and it will get covered. It doesn't hold water. It doesn't continue on into the following years or anything like that. And people aren't looking at you again because you just won that one. You got to do it again. And that sucks to say that, but that's just the way it is. The Avalanche took it away from Tampa, but Tampa should have been getting all the coverage because what they were going for was 3 in a row. Come on now. But now the Avalanche have to get into that mold of like, okay, we got to win year after year, and then we will become what those other sorry, Kyle, that'll become the Alabamas of the world. That oh no, get the paddles out, clear. But that's where they want to be, and they're heading in that direction. But you just got to keep winning.
Just ask St. Louis and Washington, and how many people remember Vegas won the Cup? Have you seen anything about that lately? No. You know why? You're Avalanche fans.
Yeah, well, that's your algorithm on Twitter won't allow that.
Yeah. Now we're understanding how things operate.
All right. Number 4 here. I like this one. You are not the loudest fans in hockey. I know some broadcasters said that a few times, and some writers on Twitter mentioned something similar. And there was that one time somebody asked a visiting player about you guys, and he basically said, they're fine, I guess. Here's the harsh truth, that they were being nice. The reality is that you guys are loud sometimes, very loud even. When your team wins a playoff game, you blow the roof off the arena, and it can be a very cool thing to witness. You're also pretty underwhelming at times, especially when the game isn't going well. In other words, you are like pretty much every other fan base. It's true. Like, all fan bases are loud. All fan bases are quiet. I think Ball Arena can get extremely loud. I remember, I think it was Sheldon Keefe, of Toronto, who said that was the loudest arena we've been in, and that was 2 years ago. So there's moments where, yes, you are the loudest, but I don't think there's any one fan base that can claim they are the loudest year in and year out. You're all loud at times, you're all quiet at times. But when you start throwing that banner around like we're the loudest, where's your study on that? I don't know.
I'll tell you the secret here. The teams that say they have the loudest arena have no banners up in their arena. There are no banners, and there's nothing to cheer for on the ice. So the last thing they have to say is, well, we have a loud arena. We might not be winning playoff games or Stanley Cups, but at least our fans are loud.
Right. It's fun it's just one of those things where you just say, because it gets the crowd fired up even more.
Yep.
So you're all good. You're all loud, and you should be. That's what you're there to do. And there's another one that I always love when players are being interviewed. They're like, oh, this is the best fan base in the league. We're all good fan bases, but this leads to the last one. Your rival fan base isn't as awful as you make them out to be. And he particularly saved this one for last. And there's a comment in here that I absolutely love. I gotta find it here, but here it is. He says, there's one thing about every fan base it seems to feel extremely passionate about. It's telling you about how that rival fan base is a bunch of no-class jerks. They show up in your building, they get drunk, and they start fights. They're loud and they're abrasive. They swear in front of small children and elderly nuns. Then they try to fight them too. Meanwhile, your team's fans are sitting politely with hands folded in their laps, focused on enjoying the game and then going home and getting a good night's sleep so you can wake up early and help build that orphanage. It's a brilliant line, and it's so true. We hate every other fan base because you see the hatred and the people that speak up and say just despicable things sometimes, and you want to kind of encapsulate their entire fan base in those few idiot people. And the fact is, Avalanche fans, there's some Avalanche fans that do that too. I've witnessed it on some, Twitter threads and things like, ooh, Twitter threads. How about that? Hey, now. But we all have most of fan bases are good. Mm-hmm. They're welcoming people. They're fun to talk to, but you have that small percentage of jerks either at the game or on social media. And you feel like, oh, that fan base is horrible because these people wanted to pick a fight with me either at the game or on Twitter. And the reality of the situation is we all have jerks. We do. We don't want to say it, but we all do. And so do you.
We like to hate on fan bases, me included, because it's fun.
Sure.
But like, you hate Vegas. I hate Vegas.
Well, I hate the Vegas. I hate how it's run. The fans,
that's
whatever.
True.
Yeah.
Like, we remember the clip of the Vegas fan ripping the Avalanche flag out of his hand and running away. Mm-hmm. But often we forget that organization, when they played their first game, remembered all the victims of the shooting that happened in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. That was like a sincere, heartfelt pay it back to the city. That was a great moment. We said, that's very classy. Then we forgot it when it was, hey, they ripped the flag out. Guess what? Every fan base, they do charity work. When the Dallas Stars scream stars in the national anthem, 31 other fan bases say, well, that's kind of goofy. But there are Dallas Stars fans who will have a tear in their eye as they participate in that same tradition. Mm-hmm. All fan bases are goofy, but it's not goofy to that fan base. That's what makes the sport so good. We have good fans, we have bad fans, but if you wear the same colors, you're all family.
And when it comes to social media, the one that sticks out to me was the Nazem Kadri one with St. Louis. And the fact of the matter is, like, the good fans, most fans are not going to go to social media to say anything about it. The ones that do are the negative ones.
Yep.
And they get amplified. So you saw a lot of the nasty side of a St. Louis fan base run to social media. The fact is the large percentage of St. Louis fans weren't interacting on social media about it. They probably had their own thoughts on it and they thought it was disgusting and bad, but they're not going to run to social media to, and some of them did, you did see some people say like, this is horrible. This is horrific. But
they were in our comments saying,
absolutely.
Hey, Avalanche fans, we're sorry about this. We don't stand for this. We're not part of this.
Right. So it's just the nature of the beast when it comes to social media. Those negative posts and tweets and whatever just get amplified.
Yep.
And because you can hit that retweet button and be like, look at this idiot. And then that just gets picked up and then it just snowballs after that. But I like that one. I like that one because we sit and the people that we interact with Avalanche fans are 99% of them are all because they're on our side. So we have disagreements on things, and who if they lost a game, it's all the reasons why this team stinks. You're like, well, no, you can look at positives in some games and pull that out. Doesn't mean they're terrible. And we can have that conversation. We have those conversations with people during the regular season. We don't see like kind of like the nasty underbelly of a couple Colorado Avalanche fans because they're really not interacting with us. I feel like they're going to other teams' Twitter pages and Facebook pages and commenting there. And we don't see that because what they're commenting on our page is all sunshine and rainbows, but they exist. They're out there and they wear Avalanche jerseys and they're saying things that I would never in a million years back up, but every single fan base has them. And I would never, ever sit here and say like, oh, we are 100% the most classiest fan base in the world. And I think it's the percentages I'm sure are pretty equal for all 32 teams, from the percentages of the people who are kind of despicable to the people who, and it's the vast majority, are good-natured sports fans who you can have a fine conversation with. If that was the case, if it was so bad, nobody would be wearing, if you go into an opposing team's arena, you would never wear the visiting uniform ever. But
you have fans that have Trade Gerard signs that they take on the road. And then you have people that run things like the Ryan Graves fan page that I still follow just because he's a good dude.
There you go. Beautiful. That's where we'll end it. Fire away in the comments section. I'm going to have fun interacting with people on this one. Nicely, I hope. If you took nothing out of this. Yeah. That last one, I wonder how the comment section is going to go based on that very last section alone. So, all right, that is going to wrap it up for today. We will be back on Wednesday. We'll finish up that fan poll that the Athletic did, but this came out in between. So it's like, we got to talk about this because it was just too good. It was too good. So, it's going to wrap it up. So thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated, everybody. And he is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I'm Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday.